Well, the causative fat itself is sort of a general concept, so we need to break it down into two different categories. One is direct causative fat, and the other is indirect causative fat. These are two simple concepts, and just as the picture shown here, if we cared about the intermediate mechanism between our interesting cause and interesting fat, then we say they might present an indirect fat. And first, for the indirect fat itself, we also got two different versions. One is what we call the control derived fat. And for the derived fat here, let me show you some intuition that we have discussed a bit before. Suppose we have two different worlds, the current world and the parallel world, or the counterfactual world. In the current world, my grandfather didn't receive any vaccinal treatment, but he did, we suppose he did in the parallel world. So in order to calculate the derived fat, the next step is to calculate the probability of the vaccine, the virus, the virus are still going to be rampant. See this diagram phase of the virus I drawn here. So we calculate the probability and we measure the disparity between these two different worlds, between these two probability. So if if it turns out that the difference would be small, then we say the vaccine doesn't work because that probability means the virus are still going to be alive, right? So the vaccine didn't have its causative effect. And for the world control here, just as any standard scientific step, we have control experience. So let's say if my grandfather also have other pharmaceutical treatment, like he took pills, then we're going to control this. We're going to control the situation because we only want to measure the vaccination itself. We want to measure pure causal effect of the vaccine. So we wish to control everything but for the vaccine itself. All right, but does it really make sense? I mean, can we really cure everything else, control everything else? Let's suppose we have a physiological mechanism goes like this. Here I draw a causal diagram here. The vaccine will function, have its own causal effect on the virus. So this is what we cared about, the direct effect. But let's say in the same time, the vaccine will also function by boosting amount of certain a certain type of enzymes. This is just only the mechanism is only for demonstration here. Let's say if the vaccine will function by boosting the amount of enzyme and help coordinately deplete the virus. So if the total mechanism goes like this, then just now we said we want to control over everything. So if we want to control the enzyme, how do we do? We're going to poison them and kill them. That sounds a bit insane, right? So, I mean, maybe we need a more mild natural control. So that is why we need the other version of the direct effect. And we call it the natural direct effect. So for the natural one, instead of controlling everything, we're gonna hold constant the preference. That is, if in if in the current world my grandfather take pills, I'm gonna let him take pills in the parent world. In the current world, for any condition, for any body condition, something like the enzyme level, I'm gonna retain this condition in the parent world. Okay, so based on this, the following step is all the same. The following step to calculate the direct effect is that we calculate the disparity between these two different worlds. And let me just emphasize a bit here. So the difference between the natural direct effect and the control one is that for a natural direct effect, we are not trying to, you know, look for unified control because it turns out sometimes these controls can be impossible, especially for controlling the factors within an intermediate mechanism. The enzymes are raised by the vaccine itself, so we just cannot control it. We cannot curb this physiological mechanism. This is crazy, right? So we choose to just hold constant the setting, hold constant the preference the preference of the current world, and then we calculated the disparity. So notice that there is only one thing changeable, that is the vaccine itself, whether my grandfather take a vaccine or not. Okay. However, we also have another question. Let's say so far we are already talking about what is a derived fat. This is how it goes like this. This is an arrow here. But what is what if the total causative fat are more concentrated on the indirect fat? Let's use a border arrow here. That is, we say the direct effect can be insignificant. Notice that we use the natural direct effect to represent the gap, the disparity between these two different worlds, right? So if that gap turns out to be pretty small, then the natural direct effect, or NDE, would equals to 0. So that is the reason we need to focus on the indirect effect in the following.